Okay, hey everybody, this is Mr. Manning, and this video is going to be about how to balance your checking account at the end of the month. This is something you do, like I said, at the end of the month. The main reason you do it is because you want to make sure that the numbers that you have in your check register, remember the check register, here's an example of it right here. The numbers that you have in the check register, you want to make sure that they match up with the numbers that the bank has. And if they don't, then this is a really good way to find the mistake. It's either on your end or their end, and sometimes banks make mistakes. It's a good way to find the mistake and then make sure that you go into the next month with the accurate account balance. So it's actually kind of an important thing to do. And I know with internet banking, a lot of people probably skip this step. They just assume that the bank knows. I actually have found out that since internet banking is so much easier, that I do this, but I do this much more often. I don't usually wait till the end of the month to do this because with internet banking, they let me know every month, or up to the minute practically what I have done. So my wife and I actually keep track of our account balances probably more like once a week than once a month. But for this practice, we're going to just do it for the end of the month so that you know how to do it. And then if you decide that you would like to do it more often than that, you definitely can. Okay, so there's two documents that I need you to have open on your screen. You need to have your check register from the month of January, which hopefully you have completed. And then you also need to have this thing called an account statement. Let me center that a little bit better. An account statement is a document that your bank actually sends you at the end of the month. And it basically puts on there what they think you've done in your checking account. Now, notice that I emphasize what they think. There are some things that the bank's not going to know about. We talked in a previous video about if you wrote a check to a friend and it took that friend several days or weeks or months to cash the check, the bank would never know about it until they cashed it. So another reason you do this is so that you can match up with what you know about with what the bank knows about. And hopefully at the end we'll have a common balance. Okay? So on the account statement, up here at the top, it's got a lot of numbers relating to like your your beginning balance and how many deposits you had and how many credits you had. This checking summary section is a list of all of the checks that the bank knows about, because remember, the bank sends you this statement, so if they didn't know about it, it wouldn't show up on the statement, right? So these are checks that have what we call cleared. Basically what that means is that whoever you gave the check to took it to their bank, they got their money, and they took the money out of your account. And once they take the money out of your account, it shows up on this statement, and the check has cleared. It is done. It's over. And then they also have in this green section here, this is some other activities on your account. For instance, it looks like that we received a service charge during the month of January. We'll talk a little bit more about what that is. And then at the very bottom, this is really nice, they give you kind of like a little worksheet that you can use to balance your account. They call it an account reconcilement. That's just a really fancy word for balancing. So we're going to compare this document with your check register to make sure that they match up. Okay? All right. Step number one, on your account statement, it's got to have this section called Payments Outstanding. The word outstanding means that these are checks that you have written, you've given to somebody, but they have not cleared. So the bank doesn't know about them yet. Whoever you gave those checks to, they didn't cash them. So the way you figure out what checks are outstanding is you go through the list of the checks that the bank does know about, which shows up right here in the checking summary, and you mark them off on your check register. So, for instance, the bank knows about check 101 for $35.24. So I'm going to go to my check register, and this is where this check mark column comes in. I mentioned in the previous video that you didn't need to worry about that check mark column until now. Well, now you do. So you just simply are going to put a check mark, or since I'm using Excel, I'm going to put a nice big X. You're going to put a check mark or an X on all of the checks that the bank knows about. So they know about check 101. I'm going to put an X right there. I go back to my account statement. I see that they know about check 103. So I'm going to go down to check 103 and I'm going to put an X right there. And I am just going to keep doing that all the way down the list until I have recorded every transaction from this area and any transactions from this area. Okay? Okay, we're back. And as you can see, I have gone through and I've went ahead and put an X next to all of the checks that the bank knows about. And I got that information from this list right here. Now I also want to put an X next to any deposits that the bank knows about, and then any service charges that are listed on my check register. So right up here at the top where it says deposits, credits, I have one deposit for $717.20. And since I have two deposits listed on this register, one was the deposit that I used to open the account, which is right here, and then one was the deposit that I did on January 31st. But this deposit was for $692.37, so that's not the one that the bank's talking about. In fact, it looks like they don't know about this deposit, so we'll have to make sure to record that later. And then I don't know about the service charge. This is probably something that the bank charged me, and I didn't realize that they had done that, so I didn't know that information until they sent me the account statement. So we're going to have to add that in right now, in fact. So I'm going to put January 31st. I'm going to put service charge. It was $5. And because that is money coming out of my account, I put it in the debit section. And then I need to subtract to find my new balance here. So my new balance is $345.24. And I am going to go ahead and put an X there too because the bank does know about it. They were the ones that told me. So I'm going to put an X right there. All right. Now that I've done all these X's, I need to go back and I need to find all of the checks that I have written that don't have an X. It looks like check 102 doesn't have an X, check 106 does not have an X, and check 108 does not have an X. I am going to list those in the section right here that says payments outstanding. So it was check 102, 106, and 108. And right next to it, I am going to list the amount for those checks. So check 102 was $24. Check 106 was $33.93. And check 108 was for $450. Okay, the bank doesn't know about any of these, so I need to total them up. So I'm going to add up these three numbers, and I get a total of $507.93. That means that there is $507.93 of money that I have spent that the bank does not know about. That's important because I don't want to imagine or to assume that they do know about it, and then those checks come in and I end up going negative on my account. All right, now this number, you'll see this big black arrow that's pointing to the right here. That arrow is telling us that we need to take this number and move it over to here, 507.93. And we are now done with this section, and we're going to work on this section. Okay, you just go from top to bottom. Ending balance on the statement. Well, this document we're looking at right now is the statement, and up at the top there is a section that says ending balance, and it was $160.80. So I'm going to put $160.80. All right, add any deposits not shown. All right, so now I need to figure out, was there any deposits that I had that the bank doesn't know about it? And I'm going to have to go back over to my check register to find out. And yeah, here's one, the one on January 31st for $692.37. I don't have an X next to it. That means that it was not listed on my account statement, and therefore the bank does not know about it. So I'm going to put that $692.37 right here. And that was the only one. They give you a spot for a couple of blank ones here, but that was the only one, so I'm just going to leave this blank. Subtotal, I'm going to add this number with this number. In fact, it says add deposits not shown, so that'll help you remember that you need to add those two numbers together. I get $853.17. Now it says subtract payments outstanding, so I'm going to take my subtotal and I'm going to subtract this $507.93. And I get $345.24. Okay, that number looks familiar to me for one reason. That $345.24 is also the same number that I have at the bottom of my check register. That is a really, really good thing. We want those two numbers to match. If the numbers don't match, you've made a mistake somewhere. And you'll have to go back and make sure that you've done all your adding and subtracting correctly and that you haven't forgotten a number. But if they do match like they do on our example, then we are good because we have just balanced our checking account. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you.